Hello and welcome to this week's edition of FX Addicts Weekly Market Analysis. This is Tim the Currency Professor, and today is Friday, November 9th, 2012. Well, with the U.S. elections out of the way, the focus now shifts to the fiscal cliff, so to speak, in the U.S. and the tax consequences of that fiscal cliff. So everyone is now focused on that, so stocks have sold off this last week, and in the same turn it's actually appearing to be good for the US dollar. And in addition to all that, consumer sentiment in the US has been fairly good, and also some other economic numbers have been fairly good for the week, so the dollar has enjoyed a little bit of a boost. And on the counter side is the euro, which continues to fall, mainly because of economic data coming out that that they are slowing down again. Now, apparently Greece is avoiding a default here. They should be able to get their next round of financing, so or aid rather. And that should come next week. If that does, then they are okay again for another 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is. And focus then will turn to the economy. So this week the euro gave back quite a bit. Dollar rallied. Today we're off about 36 pips. We're down to just above 127. We did dip below it slightly today. But overall now we are resuming our downward trend, and we can really come back now and say that, well, we have kind of a double top there. We've broken this neckline, closed down decisively below it, and if we look at the weeklies, we can see how we ran up here, made a high, fell back, tried to exceed that high, and we have now failed since we've broken down below this, and we are closing well below it. So technically now we're going to resume the downward trend. And if we look on the monthlies, we were up at this upper channel line 3 times and have since failed. So how we close out this month is going to be very important. Of course, we still got about 3 weeks left of that. So if we closed at this level for the month, that would actually be very bearish, and we would then turn around and go down and make new lows. So that is a very, very distinct possibility, but of course we got 3 weeks to wait on that. But right now in the short term it does look like we have turned bearish. On the British pound, very much the same kind of scenario here. We're down about 90 pips today, breaking down below 159, and you can see here on the charts how we've just broken today this support. Looks like we're going to close down there, so we can continue on now to sell off. And with the British pound, it seems to be that we will sell off or rise much quicker. So I'm anticipating that we're probably going to sell off fairly quickly here. On the weeklies, we can see how we've broken down below this minor trend line. We tried for about 4 weeks to stay above it, and now this week we've broken down and we are closing down below it. And that's the important part, that we're closing down below it. Technically now we should run down to this trend line down here, which is about 156.60, and technically that'll be the 4th time that we're down there, and we should break it then. We should close then below that, which would then take us down on the monthlies. So you can see here below that trend line on the monthlies will take us well down to the lower 130s and quite possibly even to 125. So there's a lot of weakness yet to come in the British pound. US dollar against the Swiss franc enjoying a very nice day and a very nice week. We are up for the day, up about 28 pips right now, depending on your quote service. But we are extremely overextended at this point, so we do need to fall back and have a little correction. Probably 2 or 3 days. It looks like we'll probably get, and that'll be about it, and then we'll start to rally again. Now on the weeklies, we're not quite at or above this minor trend line, which has become a resistance line. It was a support line, it's now become a resistance line, and we're bucking right up against that right now. Technically we could fall back from that, so next week could be a down week. We get back down into this range, and bounce around there for a little while, maybe a couple more weeks, and then rally back up. Really looking towards the end of the year, getting out of a little bit of a consolidation mode here and rallying back up, and then eventually taking out this trend line, which is right now just under 100, probably taking that out and closing above that sometime in January. And that's the way it looks right now. Of course, it can happen sooner than that, but nonetheless, it's got some potential there for some pretty good rallying at that time. My Japanese yen data is all messed up here, so this is still good right up in here, and we can talk about the most recent trading. We were down this week 3 days in a row, down quite significantly, back down below 80, and today's action now, we were up a little bit earlier and have since fallen back, but we got a very nice tail going, so it depends on how we close today. If we close positive, and if we can close positive 5 or 10 pips, that would be very good. That would signal a turnaround here. And after such a violent sell-off this week, we could very easily have a complete turnaround. Looking on the weeklies, we can see how this week is pretty much taking away all the gains from last week, and it looks like we'll probably consolidate for another week, maybe into the end of next week, and then we could rally up again. On the monthlies, we're stalling this month. Of course, we're only 9 days into the month, but still we're stalling here. More than likely what's going to happen is we're going to run up towards the end of the month and make some new highs here, probably around the 8150 area. I would assume that we're going to close the month out at. So it looks very good longer term. Shorter term, we could pull back slightly. Euro Swiss up today, but down for most of the week. We're up about 3 pips, back down to around 120.60, anticipating that this is going to slide off back down to around the 120.10 range, and once it gets down there, we'll probably bottom out and then start to rally again. On the weekly charts, it's kind of hard to see because of the low volatility that we had there for so many months, so it kind of distorts the chart. The euro against the yen falling off quite a bit here, down what are we down here, about 35 pips today, under 101. We had this very nice uptrend going here, and we have now broken down below that. And longer term, if we look at the weeklies, we can see how we got up close to this trend line and we have since fallen back. So we were up there about 3-4 weeks, and then we're falling back. So it's really not a very good sign, shorter term or longer term. Going back here to the dailies, we are kind of overdue here for a bounce. We're hitting into some support area down around this area in here. So just under 100, we could get there and then bounce from there. Stochastic's very oversold, looking for a bounce there as well. And we look at the weeklies, so this week we close down in this area. Next week maybe we have a little bit of a bounce towards the end of the week, and then we could sell off again. And on the monthly, still looks very bearish. We have this long downtrend here, this big amount of damage back here. Rallied up here for 3 months. Now this month we're down. Maybe we end the month a little bit positive. We do rally up a little bit. We do go positive a little bit. Of course, looking at the shorter term charts, that doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like it's going to turn over from here. So anywhere that we can find a point at which to sell in here, probably be a good point. Get down into the upper 80s, the lower 90s like we've been talking about, would be a wonderful ride. So really looking forward to do that longer term. That is it for this week. If you have not stopped by FX Addicts, please do. We do offer a 7-day free trial for our trading room, and I am always available if you have any questions by email or Skype, even if you are not a member. So feel free to stop on by. Thank you. Have a good week.